What's up, everybody? Joe Hoka Fnatic Eley here with another episode of Through the Years, and here I am with North American journeyman Samuel SileNt Portillo, currently of Rush. We'll get to that later. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I'm actually in a messed up sleep schedule right now. So, woke up about an hour ago and
You're pretty
living
much
life.
you've pretty much been on a messed up sleep schedule all season long. We've been exchanging messages at like 5 a.m. or you message me at 5 a.m. I wake up at like 8, and then you're asleep. You wake up at 3 p.m.
I respond to you 8 hours later.
It's a whole disaster.
It's hard to talk. Yeah, I normally go to sleep like 4 or 5 in the morning, but last night, like, I don't know, I just was grinding more, and I didn't go to sleep till like 9 or 10. And I thought about doing an all-nighter. I was just like, nah, I'm just gonna pass out and just ruin my sleep schedule a little bit more.
You've been grinding rank S, or have you been playing like PUBG during the off season, like everyone else?
Well, lately so a few months ago I was grinding a lot of PUBG, but lately I say I've been like doing, that 2v2 ladder that ESEA just came out with. I've actually been doing that a lot. So I've been playing with Halo buddy of mine for the past like month. We've done like over 100 probably now.
Oh wow!
So I've been doing that. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of that, and then a few pugs. And yeah, that's really about it. And then PUBG, of course.
Are there cash prizes for that, like monthly, for the 2v2?
Yeah. Top 3 for like 1v1s, top 3 for 2v2s. It's like $100 knives and stuff like that per player.
Okay, got it.
So it's cool.
All right. Well, before you got here, grinding 2v2 ladders at 5 a.m. in the morning, talk about how you kind of got introduced to CS way back in the day. I believe you started with 1.6, right?
Yeah, I played 1.6, or maybe even before that. I don't really know. See, it's weird for me because I've been playing since I know, like, since I remember, so pretty much like the only thing I remember is being a really young kid. And it was actually pretty cool. So we had like where I lived, there was like within 2 blocks, my brother had like so many friends who like all played CS. So like you go down like 2 blocks, there was like 2 brothers who played CS, and then like right above us, like we live on a hill, so like two houses above us, like 2 brothers played CS. Like, so I've always been around CS. So like pretty much since I was like a 5-year-old. I remember we've been into CS, but like my cousin kind of got us into CS, I guess. I mean, I don't even know what happened. I just know my brother tells me all the time that my cousin got him into CS, and then my brother, like, I kind of just forced myself getting on his computer and playing video games, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure he loved that at the time.
It was terrible. Literally, like, I remember like just like being really so pretty much like anytime I would want to play, I would only be able to play when he's at work.
Mm-hmm.
So like you have to imagine how hard it was I was on a different team than him, in one computer. We only had one computer, so literally like the only way I would get to play is either if he's at work or have a match. But even if I had a match, he would freak on me. Like, it was just the hardest thing in the world to play. Like, it's just a struggle.
Does he still play? Like, not like at a high level, but like for fun? Or?
Yeah, he still plays. He's actually been on like an intermediate team, like his own roster for the past like 10 seasons or something.
All right.
So,
well,
I mean, he's trying.
He's consistent,
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, what was the like height of your 1.6 career? Were you playing? I mean, you were playing ESEA like leagues back in 1.6, right? I believe.
Yeah. I mean, my height, I guess, was like, this is when I was a kid, dude. I'm to this day I know how silly it sounds, but I played like 3 invite matches in 1.6, but only because it was my friend's team and they needed I was the 4th to keep the roster alive, and we were 4v5ing every match.
Right.
I was the happiest kid ever. Like, I knew I was only playing because they needed me to stand in, and I knew it was a 4v5, so it was meaningless, but I was the happiest fucking kid ever. But like, I guess besides like that invite team, I played main with my brother in 1.6, and like we had a pretty decent team. I don't remember how well we did, but I guess my hype was main. But like, it kind of sucked for me, honestly, because I've like even now like I still have like I could get high pitched voice, but as a kid I was just a high pitched voice kid. So like anytime I would like, I mean I thought I was pretty good at the game, right? But like I think I was a consistent main player, but like I was like a little kid who sounded like a girl, so like no one would ever give me a chance.
Right.
It was just the saddest thing. So I feel like I never really got a chance to actually be able to get good at 1.6.
How did you and your brother manage to play on the same team if you only had one computer? I guess that was a little bit later. You had two computers at that point, or you have to go like to the friend's house to play.
You know, I don't remember 100% how we did it. I think we ended up, so I think what happened actually, he ended up upgrading his PC, so I had his old shitty computer for a while.
Okay, right.
Yeah, but I remember, maybe I don't, dude, it's so long ago, I don't remember too much, but I remember there was a point in time where I had to go to, he would drive me to a LAN center before matches. So I would actually play at a LAN center, and he would play on his main PC, he would come home, and then that's how we would play matches for a while.
That's dedication. Were you better than him in 1.6, or was there a point where you eclipsed him, or was he clearly better than you in 1.6?
I don't think he's like. I think towards I think I passed him in 1.6, but it wasn't as much as it is now. But like I was slightly better than him. Like I think I was like barely good enough to. I say we'll 50-50. We'll say 50-50. Like it was around the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you caught the bug with 1.6. You never dabbled with Source, right? Like in any serious sense, or
no?
No. Okay.
Yeah. I don't even have Source on my main account. I have like 20 hours on my brother's account.
Okay. All right. So you made the jump from 1.6 to Go, right? And then kind of the first time that anyone would have heard about you in Go was at ClutchCon 2015, right? So you were playing there with Paradox. You guys had qualified through the NA qualifiers, right? So there were online qualifiers that you guys came through, and you got the pleasure of playing a Fnatic that was just reaching the height of their powers, right? They had just made like the Crim's Olaf switch to get them in, and you did. I mean, you got 7 rounds on them. That's not too bad. And you didn't walk away winless. You beat Davies' team, who qualified on LAN somehow. I don't even remember what happened there. But, I mean, what was that? Was that, like, a pretty surreal experience for you? Like, here you were...
Davies' team qualified because they had, like a LAN qualifier, so, like, just a bunch of pugs, a bunch of teams qualified.
Right.
And they just won it because, I don't know, there's just not many good teams going.
Right.
But, yeah, like, I don't know, to this day, it's so funny to me that, like, my first ever LAN event, and that group was so stacked, and I remember how pissed off I was, and I bitched at admins for so long because we had our group was Fnatic, and I remember COG and Davies' team.
Yep.
And keep in mind the only win which was Davies' team, and I was sad because that's the only team we could actually beat, but they forfeited. They're vaginas, and they were 0-2 and we were 0-2, but we're like at a LAN, like I was like, let's play, why not,
Right.
And I don't know who on their team was just like not wanting to play, so they pretty much forfeited the last map. So we actually didn't even get to play them. But like the reason I was so angry about that tournament was because I don't remember exactly the other groups, but I remember we had Fnatic, who was clearly the best team at the tournament.
Yep.
And then we had COG, and at that time COG was like fighting.
Oh, I lost your sound.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Am I good?
Yeah, you're good now.
Yeah, so around that time, like COG was like fighting for #1 in NA, if not #2. Like I remember they were a top 2 NA team. Like they were doing really good.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, so we have almost the 2 best teams in the tournament, and I think it was like Group C had like Torqued,
Yep.
which was like the Summit Pug with like and all them.
Yep.
So they got like a 2nd seed, and then like I forgot who else was in that group. Like and then like one team ended up dropping out or something. I don't know. It was like a joke of a group compared to like especially ours. I was like, you could easily move like a COG to that team or something,
Right.
So it ended up sucking. But like once we actually got there, like I don't know. I guess I'm also a type of guy who and I've been like this ever since like I don't know, since I guess ClutchCon days, and I'm like this to this day. Like I don't really mind who we're playing, right? So like I guess the fact that we're playing Fnatic was like kind of cool,
Mm-hmm.
but when I'm in game, like I didn't really care, you know. I was just playing my game. I was just doing my thing.
Right.
So, but like it was a really good feeling at halftime. Like you said, we got 7 rounds, but like we and I still remember this because it was like I don't know, it was my first ever game. It was Fnatic, so yeah, I remember it was a 9-6 half, and they ended up winning Pesto and everything. So like we actually had a really good first half against them.
Yep.
So I don't know, it was definitely a pretty good feeling, like doing really well against them.
Yep. Yep, you're absolutely right. 9-6 half, then they kind of steamrolled you. Yeah, absolutely steamrolled you in the second half.
Yeah.
One pistol and everything. Yep, you are correct. Okay, so that was your first LAN experience, and I guess and then you were picked up shortly after that by Fenix, right? Was this a result of this LAN, or was this in the works before that result at ClutchCon? Do you remember?
I don't remember too well, but I'm pretty sure like it's something that was like in the works for a while.
Okay.
I remember we were talking to the org. We were talking to them for a while before we actually like signed.
Okay. So you go to Fenix, and the lineup is the same that you attended ClutchCon with. So it's you, Streber,
Eley.
who was Eley, just 9N, and Adwait, right? The infamous Adwait, right?
Yeah.
So and interestingly enough, that's pretty much like the only notable thing that happened during your time in Fenix, right? Well, you did manage to place for SIBO, right? You qualified for SIBO Professional Season 7. And then in the course of SIBO, right, you had this whole Adwait situation where he basically dropped from the server, right? And then was able to somehow, he came back in on the other team's side or something like that?
So
or he
what
was
happened
spectating,
was,
right?
Yeah, so what happened was, and keep in mind this was completely SIBO's fault, 100% their fault, because I don't know, somehow their system allowed, so we were all in freeze time and he was buying, and somehow him buying, I don't know why he pressed M, but he said he only pressed M or something like that. It got him into spectate.
Okay.
And then for 5 seconds we're all shocked, like, wait, why are you, what's going on, you know? And then we kept playing, and then that's when the incident happened.
Right.
Which is just crazy to me.
Right.
Like,
the incident being that he was then ghosting, basically, to you guys, right? The other team's positions and stuff like that. And so he wound up getting kicked from the team. Was that like a big ordeal, or was it pretty cut and dry? Like, was that coming from the org, or were you guys like, no, you're done?
Well, I love Adwait, and I don't think it was really because of that only. Like, the thing is, like, Adwait, it was pretty much coming already, you know? Like, I guess we wanted it, like, so during this time, during that game, we were, like, main playoffs, so it was definitely bad timing. We already were gonna replace him, like, as soon as we won main or whatever,
Okay.
Like, we didn't even know we were gonna make pro, by the way. Like, we thought it was Premier. Like, whatever, like, after the season ended, we thought, like, okay, well, we have to replace him. Like, he's been, like, I don't know, he pretty much made a lot of mistakes, blah, blah, you know, all that. But, like, so we were already gonna replace him, but then we were getting so much crap from, like, all the drama. Right. So we're, like, it makes sense to do it now. Like, it's, honestly, it's a PR thing, you know, like.
Right.
And then, like, we already had, like, a decent fit that we could play with, so we kind of, like, just did it.
Right. And that fifth, so, you know, shortly after this, you leave Fenix, you go over to Method, who have a WoW background, right? Was, like, where they came from, World of Warcraft, I believe. So you replace Adwait with mainline, right? So the lineup is now you, just 9N, Streber, and mainline. Yeah. And so, you know, again, kind of the same story here. You have a longer tenure with Method, playing mostly pretty much, completely all online stuff, right? I guess most interestingly, you guys, I forget, were you invited to ESL Pro League Season 1? Do you remember? Or were you grandfathered in kind of, I don't know, it was kind of hard to remember.
I think we were invited because during that season, it went from, like, they originally Pro had, like, what was it, like 10 teams or something? Yeah. And they ended up, so it was like 10 teams originally, and then what like 2 got demoted already, so they had like 8 on the roster, or like current like safe in the pro league.
Right.
So they moved up like top 3 premier, number 1 main, and then like another just straight up team that wasn't even in the league or something like that.
Right.
But like we pretty much qualified for it.
Right. And so, you finished 6-16 in ESL Pro League Season 1. You go down to relegation, and you manage to stay into the league. So, yay. That's all exciting. You mixed it up at the 5K Open. Keep on playing. Right, yeah. And now we get to... then you finish 8-14 in Season 2. Through this whole time, you're making some more roster changes, right? So you eventually wind up with the roster of... Davey and Trevor, well, just Davey, right? Davey replaces Eley, right? What do you have any memories of this time, like the early Method days, kind of before like it all kind of fell apart at the very end? Like the wheels started coming off, people started leaving one at a time. You were playing with tabseN in a couple of events. Kind of, what do you remember from this time?
Well, I remember as far as like the whole replacing like the Eley for like, I don't even know, did we replace Eley for Davey? I'm pretty sure they were on the same team at one point.
I don't know if you replaced them for each other. I think you did though. Davey joined in November, and Eley was the last person to leave before that. So,
okay.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, the whole like I guess the Eley thing was like, to this day he's still a really good friend of mine. Like he's like super good friend of mine. I think he's like, one sec. I think he's like a really good player, like really smart, but like, I don't know, like it was a combination of so many things. Like it was 5, like at the end of the day, 5 inexperienced players going into pro league, so that ended up being really tough for us. And then I think, he had a tough time adapting, I feel, with the IGL role. So like we're pretty much used to like being super strat heavy, like. It was like super telegraphed, where like in main it worked perfectly because individually 5 of us were really talented, so we could like, even if it wasn't a good shot, in main, like it was so easy, you could just win main by just being better than everyone, so like the shots worked in main, but like once we got into pro league we soon learned like these pro league players are smart players, so when you're doing something so telegraphed, like you're over here like on Mirage doing A execute, like with 4 or 5 people at A, like you have a guy pushing B or mid or something, like they just kept like countering us and they would always be flanking us. Like pretty much everything we're doing is telegraphed and it just wasn't working, and like I feel like he had a really tough time adapting. So that's kind of what, like, I guess why that change happened. And then yeah.
What do you think of him? You mentioned you're good friends with him. What do you think of him now in his role as a coach of Splice, right? Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, he's on Splice.
Yeah.
I don't really know what he does on Splice, but like as far as like energy goes, like he pretty much... The thing is, I think he's like a perfect mediator, like... He's a guy that everyone, like, you can't not like him, like he's a perfect guy that like you respect. So like whenever he gives his opinion, like you listen to it, So like on energy, the thing is we have a fucking god of a brain like God B, so you don't really need him, our coach, to be smart. Like honestly, like the best way to say is like you listen to whatever God tells you to do, and pretty much what God would tell him is like watch maybe some VODs and like maybe tell me a little bit of how they play or something like that. But mostly like 80% of the stuff that like he would do for Gob is he would go in a server with them and they would work together, so like the job was really easy for him, in the sense that like Gob's just so smart, you don't need the actually like the what you would need from like what you get from like a Peacemaker or something like that, or a Zeus.
Yeah, well, and I believe that his actual like official role on Energy was as an analyst, right, not as a coach. So that kind of was what he was doing. Okay, so we're almost up to there, but before we get there, we have one more thing with Method, which is one of my favorite bits of North American controversy, which is this shouting match that you got into with Shinobi, right? When I brought this up when we were supposed to do this show originally, you were like, "Oh, I totally forgot that." Do you have any recollection of it now? Like,
Yeah,
it back up?
It was such a funny thing to think about because I completely forgot about it.
Right.
But like pretty much like the whole incident was like, this is around the times where like Fenix, Method, all this, and we were streaming all our matches.
Right.
So we were streaming our matches, and like I feel like, so we had a couple thousand viewers when we were playing the series, and like I think he thought like something different of what I was actually saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he ended up escalating the problem huge. So like, I mean, I understand I was streaming and maybe some stuff I was saying I shouldn't have said. Like, pretty much I was just complaining how like I think most people in the Pro League or just anyone could agree that actually know Shinobi's call playstyle is just so like screamy, super aggro, at least especially like nowadays. And it was such frustrating playstyle because like I don't think it's consistent, you know. But like pretty much he was just super aggro and all this, and I was just like saying like, what are these guys doing consistently, you know? Like I kept saying this is dumb, like I'm surprised like we're losing rounds, stuff like that. And I'm assuming like one of his friends messaged him on Steam and said like, wow, SileNt's talking crap about you guys or something,
right?
Because he like randomly in game started talking crap to me, and getting super personal. I'm like, okay, you know, like,
right. Yeah, and tabseN was standing in for you during that match, right? From Europe, I'm assuming.
Yeah, he was in Germany.
Yeah, and that was kind of like the beginning of like how we saw this whole X Method thing come together, where you wound up linking up with it was you, Justin, Peter, Gabi, and LILMAN, right? So tabseN wasn't involved in that initial iteration, but then you guys wind up forming this North American German kind of like weird team. So I mean, how did that all like happen? Like, how did you connect with tabseN first of all? What's the connection there?
I'm not 100% sure how it happened, but so before the energy thing happened, like a few months before that, this was still like during Method, I'd say. I was playing with both like at different times. Like we were, I think, yeah. Okay, so what happened is, like this was a time where he was trying out for multiple pro teams. Like he was trying to find a spot at NA.
Right.
So we tried out like and Method was willing to send him to NA. Like they're willing to transport one player to NA and have them play for us. So we're like, okay, let's try out Legia. And I'm assuming somewhere in that time, Legia's like, we need another player. Maybe like he brought in tabseN or something. But I don't remember how I got to know tabseN, but like he ended up standing in for us, and I ended up loving tabseN since day one. Like he's such an amazing guy, honestly. Like I have nothing but good things to say about him, honestly. But like that's around the time like tabseN kind of came in, and I instantly like Method days. If the roster didn't die, I was in love with tabseN. I wanted to bring him on the team, because he was open during that time. But I don't know what happened. Where I think he ended up getting an offer, like, and he ended up getting contracted or something. So that kind of fell through.
Yeah, I think that would have been Penta at the time. I think that he would have been playing for potentially.
Yeah, that might have been it. And then like kind of after that, I guess, so the season ended. Obviously I had like around that time it was like me, Davey, and Justin left, and we were gonna rebuild the roster. And then so this is actually something not many know, I guess, or whatever, but it's not that big of a deal. But so like it's 3 of us left, the roster's pretty eames, we weren't sure what to do, and we actually got offered for a while it was going to be me and Davey joining Splice lineup. Before they ended up when Davey originally joined them again. Right. So I was going to end up joining them for a while, and then like I don't know, like it ended up falling through. They chose to like they were going to replace Jason R and someone else or something. And then because they're having a lot of issues, they ended up not wanting to replace Jason R. So they ended up keeping him, and then so it was just me and Justin left. And it was super depressing time because I still had a Pro League spot, and around this time also Justin was getting offered to join TSM potentially. Like he was like trying out for them. Like this is when TSM was super new, building a team. Right. So he was getting trials from TSM, and then I set a Pro League slot. So like, and orgs are always interested in you, right? So like I kept getting like, I don't know, like I was getting different Skype calls with different orgs, and then at the same time, Gabi was trying to move to NA and build a team or something. So I don't really know how it came, but like we ended up getting in contact with each other. Oh yeah, so what happened is like since I kept playing with like you know, I had contacts with him. He told me, yo bro, like Gob's a super, like he wants to come to NA, like let's build a team. That's kind of like what happened, right? I was like why not, you know, like this guy is known, he's a legend.
Yeah.
Like I would love to play with Gob. So so it ended up being me, Gob, Lagia, and that was the first year 3. And then I kind of told Justin, like, listen man, like either you stick with us or you go to your trial. It's like, I'm not gonna wait around for you. And then just like, yeah, let's fucking do it, you know? So we kind of had our 4 players, and then I don't know, I guess Peter was just my choice because Gob didn't care who you played with, honestly. He was just like, you give me someone who you think is really good and then like I'll go with it, you know? Like he didn't mind too much. So that's kind of like, I don't know if I regret it. I don't regret it, not because it's Peter, but like before that I was opping on Method, and then I wanted to give rifling a try, and I think I did really well rifling for a while, but I always wonder, like, if I just didn't pick Peter and like played with someone else, like how well I would have done with Op that season with Gob. But yeah, so I don't know, he pretty much told me you pick a player, and then I ended up like, to me, like Peter's like a really good player, so I was like, well, let's pick up Peter and then I'll rifle and let's see where we go with.
Okay. So like your first event with like this whole big super team was the MLG Columbus America's Last Chance qualifier, right? In which you kind of, you know, unfortunately wound up finishing last. You know, you lost your initial match to Optic at the time, so that was kind of a bummer, I guess. But then you managed to like, I think to a lot of people's surprise, you guys qualified for Counterpit, right? Which, and then, you know, wound up going to Counterpit for LAN, and obviously there was the whole situation with Peter's foot on the plane, and then tabseN came and stood in for you guys. Would you classify that LAN as like the highlight of your NRG days? Obviously you had the upset win over Envy, which was huge. You kind of had some standout rounds. Like overall you didn't perform that great in the series, but you had some nice clutches and some I remember in that Envy series. So I mean, yeah, what do you think about that?
I mean, I jokingly say it a lot, but like, I kind of do think, besides maybe their recent Pro League game with the Gob or whatever, but like I always say, like that's probably our best line we had as Energy, out of like the few lines we went to, like
with tabseN.
Yeah, with tabseN. Yeah, like I definitely think that was the best line, and I don't know, everything just clicked really well for us, I guess, that line event. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so you had that kind of surprise performance at Counterpit. Was a surprise that you were there to begin with, and then, you know, you're laboring in ESL Pro League. You actually had a very decent Season 5 Pro League. You know, if you were playing this season, you would have made it to LAN because you finished 5th, just outside of, you know, at the time it was top 4 go. So you had a really good season there. But then, you know, you got benched sometime in like late May, early June in NRG, right? You and Justin both got benched.
Yeah.
What were the circumstances surrounding that? You know, and more importantly, like, how did you feel about that? Because this was a lineup that you had you know, it was your Pro League spot. You had a big hand in, you know, pulling all these players together, and then you kind of got mutinied from your own team, is what it seems like from the outside, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say, like, even to this day, like, I think I deserve to be cut. I think for the, like, last month or two, like, after pretty much right after Pro League, maybe even towards the end of Pro League, we had, like, a bunch of, like, ECS matches. We had, like, that we ended up playing really bad in. Like, we didn't even come close. Like, I think we got close to relegated. I don't know.
You did get relegated. You had to play Development League Season 2, where you didn't make it in.
Okay, yeah. And then we had, like, I think it was like another minor, and like, I think the minor was like the last straw, but I was like super slumping. Like, I don't know, like I just played really bad. So pretty much when they told me, like, listen, like, we're gonna have to replace you, like, I wasn't salty about it. Like, I understood. I told them, like, I don't blame you, you know, like, I'm playing really bad. So to me it made sense. So like pretty much like you said, like everyone always says like oh like privately people tell me all the time like, dude, like, you know, fuck Cobb, fuck these guys, like they came to NA and they probably since day one have wanted to cut you guys and build a pro league roster, just like all this and that. I'm like, no, honestly, I slumped towards the end and Justin's always like, I'd say he's had like commitment issues, like he was in, and like a little bit of attitude issues, so like it was hard to work with him. Even though he was like one of the best players statistically, like it was a struggle to play with him sometimes.
Okay.
So like it makes sense to me why we got replaced. It's not like we're over here like the best teammates in the world and we're statistically like doing really well, you know, like so I think we're definitely like rightfully deserved to be replaced.
Do you think part of that as well was, you know, relative to Gabi and Legia, do you think that they viewed you as being, you know, inexperienced? Like, not even, you know, forget about the kind of whatever dedication issues, the attitude issues. Do you think that was part of it as well? Or
I definitely think we came into, well, so I definitely think I was definitely inexperienced in the sense like in that team I learned so much being on the team within like the 2 weeks. I learned so much, so I definitely learned a lot, but I don't think we also, at least me personally, I don't think I got a full fair chance of like being, you know, like I don't know, I just don't think I got a full fair chance. Like, and I told this to Gob even like a few months after I got replaced, like 6 months after I got replaced. I told him like I think he is super biased with like yeah, pretty much like the way I see it is like if I would make a mistake, it's like the world ends type of thing, you know, like bro, you gotta fix this shit type of thing. And if like would make a mistake, to me it's like he almost like would like rub it off, like, you know, who cares, like whatever type of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like I didn't get a, I don't know, it just sucked for a while, you know. So
yeah,
but besides that, yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So you get moved to the energy bench, and then you're pretty much not seen until the end of August, right? So your contract with energy ran out sometime at the end of August, early September, right? And then you show up with this Muffin Lightning roster, right? So it's you and like a bunch of either kind of, you know, All-American rejects, right, or people that no one had really heard of at a high level before, right? So it's you, it's aKis, it's Ichiban, ARKIMONDAY, and who else? sancz. Yes. Right, he joined in September. Yeah. So like, you know, you're the guy who was benched by NRG. sancz was like let go by Complexity. aKis hadn't been seen for like 3 Pro League seasons. He had like come in at the end of Elevate and then wandered off into the wilderness. Ichiban was at that point only known as the dude who had stood in for Equifox for a couple of matches, and ARKIMONDAY was just like, who is this guy? So so walk me through how like this whole roster got assembled, right?
Well, I probably have the least intel, I guess, on how this roster got assembled.
Okay.
Because I wasn't even supposed to be in the roster originally. The thing is, like, the mumble everyone hangs out there, it's like it's like the COG mumble, almost, you know?
Right? Yeah.
Like this, where all the COG players hang out, like all the Rush guys, Muffin Lightning, all those guys would hang out there. Like there's a group of like 20 people who are really good players in CS who hang out there. And I've never been like fully into that mumble until I started playing with Muffin Lightning. I was kind of like, I would go 10-man sometimes, or like I would join sometimes to play Rust and stuff, but I was never really good friends with everyone. So they have always been friends since 1.6, really good friends. So like pretty much they were gonna build a roster that which was sancz, ARKIMONDAY, aKis, Ichiban, and they were gonna pick up rooRoooo.
Okay.
But I guess unlucky for him and fortunate for me, like he got like that like
the whole flood issue, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So that happened, yeah, and then he pretty much couldn't play or whatever. So they picked me up. And like we kind of went from there, I guess. But so I'm not really sure how like it happened, but
okay. So hence Muffin Lightning was born. You play a bunch of Eley qualifiers. You played like ECS Dev League. You play like you played the WSG qualifier, and I believe you were supposed to attend, but then couldn't, right? I think the top 2 slots were supposed to go, and then there were visa issues, or just you couldn't go. What happened there?
I don't remember exactly what happened. I know it was visa issues. Like,
okay.
So what happened was the qualifier happened like a month or 3 weeks before the LAN or something like that.
Yep.
And then we kept searching up, and it's like we had so many issues. Like aKis' closest like place was like so far away or something. He couldn't really do it within the short span that we had. I don't know. Like I don't remember exactly what happened. Like I think we also heard something crazy like visa to Brazil, because it was gonna be to Brazil. It takes normally like 5 weeks.
Right.
This was also the time where everyone Pro League was freaking out because nobody knew like who was gonna qualify. You can't get your visas.
Right.
And like even half the staff almost didn't like get like visas to go to Brazil or all this.
Yeah.
So like we were like freaking out. We're like, how are we gonna do this? And the way they ended up doing it is a week before you went to the LAN, they made you go to New Mexico and get a visa there, and then you had to stay there for like a few days, and then you went to Brazil or something. So it was like 2 weeks traveling for this event, like, which is, I thought it was worth, but it was a gamble because this tournament organizer said, like, listen, we're gonna send you to New Mexico, but it's not a guarantee that you're gonna be able to go to Brazil. Like, you might not get visas in time.
Right.
So to us, it's like, it's a huge gamble. I wanted to do it, but some guys didn't want to do it, so we didn't do it. But like, it was a huge gamble, and like, we also had like Premier matches still going on and all that stuff. So we chose Premier over going to the Brazil LAN.
Okay. Was it New Mexico or Mexico? Because isn't that what Subtle wound up doing? Ocean's team, didn't they go to like
Mexico?
I think it was like real ass Mexico. I think
maybe
I could
Mexico.
be making that up, but yeah, I mean Ocean and Els were literally chilling, I think, in Mexico for a week to be able to attend that LAN. It's kind of like a crazy story. And like you said, there was Premier going on. They had to forfeit like 3, just below the allowable limit of forfeits in Premier to not get kicked out. Okay, so you don't attend WESG, but you do, you make it to Premier Playoffs Season 23, and then you're also a surprise participant at the Americas Minor, right? Because Echo Fox pulled out, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Echo Fox disbanded, and then you guys got in. So you kind of find yourself at a LAN in kind of strange circumstances. I mean, what did you think of the E-League studio, that whole situation, Atlanta? Obviously you guys finished last, right? You lost to C9 in the upper bracket and then TSM in the lower bracket. Yeah. How was all that?
I mean, I think the E-League studios are amazing. So it was definitely like,
you were taking a lot of naps there. I saw a lot of pictures.
Yeah. Wait, was it there? I don't think it was there. I think that was like Mount Dulan.
Oh, it could have been. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it was nuts for sure. Like, it's like, cause like they do like TNT stuff there, like the whatever the basketball. Like, I can't think.
Inside the NBA is
inside the NBA and stuff like that. So it's nuts that you got to see that, and just like behind the scenes and everything. Like, I've actually never been like around where like you would record like TV stuff or whatever, right? So like, literally, I'm watching the players walk by and then just a big ass camera just following them. I don't know. It was pretty cool, I guess, for sure. Like, it was a really fun experience going to Atlanta and stuff like that. Yeah.
So for the most of you watching that probably haven't been to the Turner Studios, it's a giant complex that takes up like probably like a square mile of land basically, and the E-League studio is studio like T or something. They have studios all the way from like A to Z. It's a massive complex, and they have everything from like Cartoon Network in there, TNT, inside the NBA, like you mentioned. Like it's wild. So yeah, I mean, so despite the poor result, was that an overall good experience for you guys, or you personally, or?
Yeah, I mean, we're not like crazy people expecting to like get first place at the tournament, right?
Yeah.
Like, we definitely, like, I went into it like thinking we could actually get top 2. Like, who was it? It was C9, TSM, and what? Like Immortals?
Immortals, yeah.
Yeah, so like Immortals, we just finished beating them like in a like we beat them in the qualifier, like in the upper bracket qualifier to qualify for the minor or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like we knew like it was potential of upsetting them.
Right.
And like TSM like during that time was like half dead. Like they were only going to the because like they're forced pretty much, you know.
Right.
So like we had definitely like we were looking positive going into it. But we weren't obviously too upset about it when we didn't qualify. We kind of like took it as like really good practice.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so then another kind of bizarre episode in your career happens, where is, shortly, a month later after the minor, is ESEA Season 23 Global Challenge, right? And like the morning of, you basically let everyone know that like, oh, by the way, ARKIMONDAY isn't coming. So you wound up using Dai there, right, from CLG Red. So yeah, like obviously people know like he got the 1,000-year ESEA ban, his career is over. But I mean, what's the backstory there? Because like this guy had just shown up to LAN a month before, so it's very strange, right?
So the thing is, we saw it coming, kinda, yes and no, because Arky is like a guy who like he's really, I don't know, he's either happy or emo, and like he wasn't having fun during that time, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But like the big thing with him was like even before the minor, he kept jokingly say like okay, number one thing you have to know that like aKis, Ichiban, sancz have known this guy for like a long time. Like he's been friends with them, but they've never seen a picture of him. Like never. Like no one knew what he looked like, and he never went to a line ever. And he's always been pretty good at the game.
Okay.
So no one ever. So before the minor, everyone's a little skeptical. Like he might actually dodge. Like we had no idea if he would actually go because he's never shown his face.
Right.
And he kept jokingly said before the line like I might just dodge or whatever. So we really didn't know if he was going to show up or not, but he showed up and it was awesome. We played the LAN, blah, blah. And he was a cool person in real life too. Like he was, he's a show guy. And then before, like after that, we had so many issues in the team. We weren't getting a sponsor, like just so many issues. And then an entire week before the LAN, we hardly even practiced because he didn't want to show up to practices. And he said, I'm going to dodge. But like he said that at the minor, so we didn't really... We're like, well, I mean, he might dodge, but what can we do now? It's a week before, like 3-4 days before the LAN, and he's saying he's gonna dodge. Like, he might just do what he did at the minor, and then he's gonna show up,
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, like pretty much, we talked to Eley again. We knew when his flight was, and he never landed. They told us, so it was kind of like
ESEA, you mean, right? Yeah. Right.
Yes,
We're
yeah.
at Manado, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. ESEA told us when his flight's supposed to be, and they told us he didn't catch the flight. So we instantly knew like he is actually dodging.
Okay.
And we were over here freaking out like what is gonna happen to us? Are we gonna get banned? Like all 5 of us, like not showing up to a LAN, or like what's gonna happen, So I instantly talked to Few, and Few like called me and he was like, alright, so this is what we're gonna do is you guys are obviously not gonna get punished for this. And he said, you guys, since this is like such a random case, I guess it's in the rule books, I didn't even know, but he was like, so what's gonna happen is you're gonna get to pick whatever fit you want, as long as they're not a pro player and they didn't play
the Premier season as well, right? Yeah.
So no Premier players. So and it's like the same day of, so it's like
yeah, someone local
and can't be Premier player. So I was like, fuck it, let's pick up Diane, and she was like the only one from Switch Red available too.
Yeah.
So like we ended up picking her and just win with it.
Yeah. And I mean, so, stand-in notwithstanding, you got to win over Rush, right? Your future team with Dai. Dai performed pretty well. So again, fucked up situation aside, some positives to be taken from this, I think. And then kind of like disaster strikes within the Muffin Lightning camp, right? Because, well, not really. ARKIMONDAY is obviously out, right? And then so you bring in Professor Chaos, but then shortly after that you leave to Rush, right? What facilitated that? Was that hard for you? Because again, it's a roster where, people like saw this as your roster, I guess, because you were the most vocal member of the roster on social media. So I think this like surprised a lot of people. But you're saying you didn't really have a hand in assembling the roster, so I guess it wasn't really a big deal, or was it just kind of like, you know, was it as simple as Premier versus Pro? Obviously, gonna go play Pro.
Well, I mean, it's good. I should say, like, it definitely wasn't easy. So like when we formed the roster, I was kind of like the fifth, but I slowly like went up the ranks in the sense that like I did everything for the team. I was almost like, I wouldn't say leader. I definitely wasn't the leader, but I did like all the stuff. Like I would schedule scrims for us. I would do all the social media stuff. You know, like I definitely ended up having like a higher role than maybe I would have thought I would have had.
Mm-hmm.
But like, so it definitely sucked. Like I wouldn't say it was just like Premier to Pro. Like I definitely thought about it. Like the way I saw it for a while was, anytime we would play Rush, we would have close games. It was super close games. Like in the regular season, I think they we beat them or whatever it was. It was like 16-14.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to the. So the only reason we made it to Mount Duland again, by the way, it was we got invited because Premier team, like like a Brazilian team, the African team dropped. So that's the only reason.
Oh right, yeah, so I forgot about that. Yep.
So
right.
we lost to Rush in Premier playoffs. It was like 16-14 and 19-17 in overtime or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like but even though they were beating us, I honestly thought we were better than team. I knew we were the better team, 100%. I still to this day will say that lineup was way better than Rush. But we just choked, I guess, you know.
Mm.
But like, what I kept telling myself is, they're barely beating us, so I think we're 50-50 almost.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly, like, no offense to Virtus, but I think I was a way better opper than Virtus. Anytime we would play, I would just smash him. I don't know why we would lose, but I would just out-op him. Like at the Premier line, I deleted him every single time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I was a way better player than him. So I felt like if I went to Rush, like that naturally would make it a better team.
Right. And did that pan out the way that you thought it would, or?
No, maybe not, because like, I don't know. Rush had a lot of issues I didn't expect. Like
Mm-hmm.
they just had very unique issues that I don't think many teams have.
Mm-hmm.
And so like we instantly had to replace Portillo.
Right.
Even though, which for everyone it's shocking because he did so well.
Right.
But like, yeah, so he ended up getting replaced, and I don't know, it just went downhill, I guess, from there.
Mm-hmm. And the reason for that Portillo replacement was this was only like 10 days after you had joined the roster. Was this mentality? I remember at the time there was something of like a mentality, work ethic issue that was alluded to, but it never really got delved into. Is that kind of what happened?
It's not really a work issue. It's more like, okay, best way to put it is Polio's the type of guy that like I always like will tell people is like let's say you're in high school right now, you're hanging out with a bunch of buddies, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you joke around with friends, right? You're like, you're an idiot, man. Like you joke around, like just like small jokes to each other, like you'll make fun of each other here and there, stuff like that. But like Polio is the type of guy who takes everything so serious. So if you call him an idiot, like he's like, well, what do you mean? Why am I an idiot? Like he'll get super personal.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was like he would get really serious, and like you'd get into really serious like silly arguments with him, and like it's just a problem that he has outside of CS that I feel like really hurts him in CS. So like I felt like we would never, like maybe it'll be a better team with him, maybe, but I felt like if we pick up another player, you could get better, you know. With
Mm-hmm.
Portillo, I feel like you're capped at whatever you're at, and you would never get better. Just attitude he has.
Right.
So
And-
I told them, like, they were already thinking about cutting him even like before the season started.
Right.
So once I pretty much told them, listen, guys, like he clearly has a lot of issues on the team, and if we want to look for like in the long run, we might suck for a couple weeks, but if we make this move now, we'll get better,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just hate life and play the season with him, you know.
Right.
Like we'll get better if we replace him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you either have to make it now, or we're not going to do it later in the season, and we're going to fail the end of the season because we're playing with the new fit.
Right.
So I pretty much told them it has to happen now. We're playing with the whole season with them, and they're like, "Yeah, you're right. Like, we might as well just do it now."
Mm-hmm. And so this is, at this point, the kind of reintegration of Muffin Lightning into Rush starts, right? Because you immediately bring in aKis, one of your old boys who you had just left, a couple weeks ago. aKis joins, and then, yeah, I mean, so you've gone from Premier, Season 24, you're now playing EPL. You kind of start the season pretty promising. You aren't picking up wins, but you're picking up close losses, right? Like, how was that really draining on you? Like, personally, as a team, like, did that cause issues?
I think we always kind of look positive for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, just having really close games definitely, like, kept the motivation up. Like, we're like listen, we're barely losing. We're playing SK, losing to them in overtime. We're losing some team Liquid in like 16-14 or something like that. Like, barely losing to these teams.
Right.
And like, end of the season was getting easier for us. Like, we had to play Complexity, Renegades, and like, I don't know who was like Foundation and all in Winter Fox. So it was gonna get easier for us. So we were like it's alright. Like, just keep playing,
Mm-hmm.
So I think the suckiest thing, if anything, was just losing LILMAN.
Right. So, yeah. So, like, kind of middle of the season, April comes along, and LILMAN gets, basically taken by Energy, right? Because they had come back from Copenhagen Games, they kicked Marky, or benched Marky, and they brought in LILMAN. And yeah, that really seems like it just took the wind out of your guys' sails, right? Because all those close wins that we were talking about kind of disappeared. You talked about how your schedule was kind of backloaded with what should have been the easier teams. Wins against them never really materialized. And you finished the season 2-22, right? Not discounting the free wins that you would have gotten against Animal Squad or Winter Fox, right? So you finish 2-22. You have to play relegation, and then obviously, ultimately, you wind up losing to Ghost, right, for the final spot. And Ghost were using their manager as a fifth, right, for the second map. So that had to be like just soul crushing, basically, right? Is there any other way? Like, I mean,
there's no words I can say about that loss, honestly, because like. Just talking, like, going through the middle of the season, I want to say, like, I definitely think it sucked that we had no sponsor the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if, like, many would be like, believe me or agree with me, but I genuinely believe if we had a sponsor from the beginning of the season and we had a coach with us, we'd have, like, 6-7 wins at least.
Yeah.
Like, I think this team was so unique to have, like, the silly arguments it had. I think just having a 6-man there with you would have helped this team so much.
Yeah, I totally. Sorry, continue.
Go ahead. That's fine.
No, so I totally forgot about the sponsorship issue. Can you talk about who you guys were close to signing with, like at the very beginning of the season, or no?
Well, I don't want to say, especially because I was on the team when they were talking to the org.
Okay.
I only ended up getting a spot on the team after that fell through, and they're like, well, we're not going to be contracted, let's just make changes. So they replaced Virtus.
Okay.
But if it wasn't for that, then they wouldn't have even picked me up, maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, so that happened, and then like even when LILMAN left the team, like that's when like I feel the team really died.
Right.
Like, he had a big role in the team, like he was the leader of the team type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next leader up was Blade, and then like I don't know, Blade was probably one of the most or the least dedicated players on the team at that time.
Right. And that
ended up being really rough.
That has been like a kind of a problem that has followed him for the last like couple seasons. I feel like kind of every season ends and it's like, is Blade gonna come back for the next one? Is he not? Like, that's kind of always the constant scuttlebutt. And he's obviously he stayed around till now, but that kind of seems very wishy-washy.
Yeah, when LILMAN left the team, like he was so dedicated. He even mentioned, he was like, maybe I might just sit out too, and like you can pick up 2 players and CVS can win out or something. Like, it's such a weird situation how like undeady but deady he was, but like I don't know, it just sucked for sure.
Okay. So this kind of, this brings us up to the modern era, right? The relegation match was the last thing that you guys played. So now I just want to take a step back from talking about like the history and the teams and everything, and just address kind of like some other topics, right? So qualifiers have been like the bane of your existence basically throughout Muffin Lightning and Rush, right? Like you've lost in a lot of open qualifiers to, you know, teams that people would say you should not be losing to, right? Like main teams, mixes, whatever. Is there anything you can attribute that to? Like, what do you think?
Honestly, I don't know. I just hate qualifiers, honestly. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It just... It's such a frustrating thing, but, like, it's the only way you can do a qualifier, I guess. Just the fact that you have to play one map against a team. And I think the thing that's so frustrating to me is what separates... The way I see, like, CS is what separates a pro and, like, a main player, even, is it's not the aim, it's the brain, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I feel like this game is super how smart you are. Like, there's very few cases where people are, like, really godly aim, like Scream or Nico, you know? Very few of those. That's why they're so much better than everyone. But, like, other players are pros because they're just so smart, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so you can go into a random pug and you're gonna get dominated because there's a bunch of aimers, but that's all they are. There's a bunch of aimers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you go into these qualifiers with these like 17 RWS players who have been in main for their entire lives, and like they just don't like understand how to actually play Team CS. But like this, all you need in this game is you could steal a map from anyone almost by just pugging it up and just like owning them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to play like 5 games before you actually make it to the closed qualifier.
Right.
So it's almost like a matter of time which team is gonna upset you, you know.
Mm-hmm. But again, you guys, like the groups of players you have found yourself in, seem to be particularly susceptible to these things happening. Which is just a quirky kind of a thing, right? Like, you know, your list of open qualifier losses is like to teams like, you know, you have that ownage mix where like Justin was in there, Davey was in there, like Mitch was in there, SippnT, who fucking knows who those people are, the infamous Bushido boys, who like were the terror of that the most recent minor closed qualifier. They were within an inch of, you know, knocking CLG out even. So, and you know, they had good games against Energy as well. You messaged me after that game, you're like, what the fuck just happened? You know, that was almost a precursor to the relegation thing where it's just like, oh no, this is not going to go well. Yeah, so that's kind of a bummer.
Well, I definitely think the last 2 qualifiers shouldn't be like noted as like huge upsets almost, like especially the Justin's one and the Bushido boys. Like by then our team's like dead,
right?
We're not even practicing, you know. Our team is just like playing to play type of thing. We like after LILMAN left the team, we pretty much weren't even practicing. Like we would practice, we would get like maybe 2 or 3 scrims a day, but like we actually didn't even go in a server and go over do stuff. Like the team was so dead and so undedicated at that point that like it was just finishing the season off, which is pretty sad, honestly.
Right. So by, you know, even further, by the time of that relegation game, you had basically all kind of checked out a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much. Like you obviously still give it out to relegation, right? So like we definitely were trying to win, but like inside it was just a dead team walking.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It was definitely not, circumstances were not optimal to maintain that spot, right?
Yeah.
What do you kind of think, like, you know, these teams, Muffin Lightning, Rush, they're composed of a lot of players who have pro league experience but haven't managed to kind of stick there, right? Kind of like a lot of fringe players, right? So like yourself, sancz, Justin, aKis, rooRoooo, like all these guys who obviously have talent, you know, they're names that people recognize, but they, you know, you guys haven't found a way to stay within like a pro league roster. What do you think? Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, I think everyone has like a different case, but I think people like aKis, I think, like I tell aKis, and I think he tells himself this too now, like I think he realizes, I think aKis fucked up because aKis is the type of guy who only plays with who he wants to play with for the most part. So after he stopped playing with Elevate, he took like a year off or whatever.
Right.
And that long year off, like he was getting offers. He could have joined teams, but he didn't want to play. He wanted to play with friends or a team that he really thought was good. So
who weren't the ones giving him offers, presumably, because right.
So like I think like at one point he almost had a chance to join Complexity, I think, or something. I'm not sure, but like pretty much he's had chances to play, but like he chooses to like not do it, Like, but I think he definitely has a lot of talent. And Justin, like after Energy Days, like he's had multiple offers, but like I don't know what happened with like I don't know why they choose to not play. So it's really weird, to be honest.
So aKis is almost like the NA version of Twist, right? The Swedish player. Like, there's like these rumors have followed him for years where he's been approached by NIP multiple times and turned them down, and people don't really know why. But the going theory is that he wants to play with friends or people that he likes, right? So I guess maybe the same situation there. rooRoooo obviously had the flood thing happen, so we'll give him a little bit benefit of the doubt.
Besides that, he's always been playing on top Premier teams or pro teams.
Yep. What else do we have here? Oh, okay. Yep. What do you think about just like the state of NACS? Like, first of all, I guess, what do you think about the new teams in Pro League? I know it might be a sore subject for you, but what do you think about the new teams in Pro League?
So it'd be like Shinobi's team and like the Ghost team?
Yep, Ghost and Enigma 6, yeah.
I don't know, to be honest. I think Ghost has actually changed their roster quite a lot. Obviously, I'm not going to tell the 5 or whatever, but they're changing their lineup quite a lot. So I think with their new 5, they might be okay. So I think they'll be able to steal a few wins.
I'm actually really against those changes, for the record. I don't like them at all. I think they have a good thing going. I think one change would have done it, but
I don't know, like,
to be determined.
I think their ESEA roster isn't that good, to be completely honest. I think they're an alright team for sure, but I think the one or two of the changes might be questionable, but I think it has potential. Like,
for sure.
I think if with that change, I don't think they'll become worse. I think they might be around the same skill level, or maybe better, honestly.
I just view it as a little bit of an overcorrection of a problem that doesn't really exist yet, right? So, okay, so just, and then beyond that, just in general, what do you think of like how American teams stack up, right? Like we're here on the eve of EPL finals. We're gonna see 6 North American teams. Well, 4 North American teams and 2 Brazilian teams go up against 6 European teams, right? Do you think this is the season that NA stuns everyone and barnstorms into the playoffs, or what do you think?
I don't know about like takes like NA's like destroy most EU teams. I don't think that's gonna happen. But I think NACS in general is like slowly getting better and better. Like I don't know, like a few years ago, the biggest thing is like, oh yeah, all these players are split up, the contracts are of like different orgs, all this and that. I think it's slowly like there's like most teams are starting to stack up their rosters little by little, or are buying out more players, and like you see like within the last year, more teams are winning like tournaments. Like C9 won the last EPL, like Optic won 2 tournaments, like Liquid's gone far, like like in the majors and stuff. Like I think NACS is getting better for sure, but I don't know. I think we're still quite some time away before like consistently like you see top 3 and 8 teams going like getting top 8 like consistently. Like the tournaments.
What do you make of like the whole kind of mystery of like the Cloud9 Liquid Optic trio, right? Like we saw that brief surge in form, you mentioned with EPL finals and E-League and Northern Arena, right? And then it, has drastically dipped off from there. Despite, seeing Liquid make all these big money moves to get in stand, to get in twists, right? What do you think is missing there, right? We've seen C9 kind of chronically underperform when they get to LAN.
I mean, honestly, I'm not sure. I wouldn't be able to like really give you any useful information. Honestly, I'm not really sure what it is. What I do think is, I think Liquid did make the right moves as far as like picking up Twist. Like I think that like that lineup is super stacked. I think.
Yep.
So like, I think they're just gonna go up from now, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
then, I would tend to agree with you. I think they have the most upside of the three of them right now, and Optic is kind of in shambles right now. Using Jason as a trial still, and Hazed as a temp coach. I mean, it's kind of unclear what's happening.
The thing is, like, I know Optic isn't winning tournaments, but are they actually in that much shambles? Like, I mean, they got top 4 at that CS Summit, right?
Mm-hmm.
They did alright, and then they got top 4 at whatever EU line they were at.
Mm-hmm.
Which, to be fair, they didn't beat like the top teams to make the top 4, but I don't think Optic is in the like completely like out of the picture. I think they're still doing decent, and they still have like their cap, their ceiling, whatever, like their skill, whatever the hell you call it is. Like they can still go far into tournaments, though. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can count them out just yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just relative to where their peak was, right? They've obviously regressed a little bit as a result of, obviously losing Stan was huge for them, right? Yeah. That's going to cause issues. What do you make of, like, you play rank S, right? When you're not playing 2v2 ladders, or
no, I don't really. No, I don't really play rank S. Okay. I honestly hate rank S.
Do you think rank S is overall a good thing, like for not just North America, but like the scene? Like, what do you think of it in general? Like pros, cons. What do you make of it?
It seems like nowadays rank S is all about like people building content, honestly, which is really shitty.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the reason I don't play rank S, it's a waste of time to me. Like, the thing is, and people tell me like you have to play with better players, just even if you're pugging it to get better. But I don't believe that. People are like, oh yeah, but look at Stewie, like look how good he is. He plays rank S all the time. But I feel like you could find, maybe there's more players who play rank S who are good than not. But like, you can find so many different players who are really good and don't play rank S.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think rank S is the key. Like, you have to play rank S to get better. I don't buy that, but I do think so like the reason I don't like playing rank S is because I think if I'm gonna go play in a rank S game, I have a different mentality than when I'm pug. So if I go in a rank S game, I know I'm playing with better players, like really good players, and my mindset is I want to get better.
Mm-hmm.
But if I just see people constantly pushing smokes in very scrimmy ways, just rushing all the time, and just doing a bunch of dumb plays between a pug, it's like, why am I doing this? It's just, I'm pretty much playing a pug against a bunch of pug gods.
Right.
So I'd rather just go pug and just go farm and troll around for fun and play with friends that I actually like playing with in a pug, rather than going to play rank S and doing the same thing again with people that like, I mean, obviously they're like, some pros are my friends, but like, I'd rather play with the actual friends,
Mm-hmm. Do you think that some players are taking rank S, like putting too many hours into rank S? Do you think it's becoming detrimental to some people, potentially?
I don't think so. I think people will just try to find reasons why to like why to hate on players,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know some people, like, I won't say his name, I guess. I know like people from like Astralis, who, this guy has more PUBG hours than CS hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he grinds a shit ton. Like, I play with like a lot of PUBG with him sometimes, and like he plays so much PUBG and like not so much CS, but no one knows he plays PUBG,
Right.
So everyone thinks he's playing over here 200 hours of CS.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fine. But I guarantee if he ever slumps and he starts playing bad at any point, someone's gonna look at Steam page and be like, oh look, he's playing PUBG only. Let's go blame PUBG. This is the reason he's sucking. This is a problem with him, I think people try to find issues. Like, I think as long as if you're just playing CS in general, like, I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like everyone gives Shroud so much shit. Like, oh look how many hours he streams. He's playing so much rank S, playing different games. But like, I don't know. I don't buy that. I don't think that's why that's their issue.
Okay. All right. So now we're getting to like, this is the last part of the show here. So you kind of alluded to the fact that Rush is a dead team, right? You guys have been relegated down to Premier. So what is happening in regards to your team situation heading into season 25 of ESEA Premier?
Well, Muffin Lightning's coming back, I guess.
Woo! Yeah, Muffin Lightning stickers, they can happen.
Team Muffins are back, dude. So, obviously, I guess by the time this happened, so, yeah, so, I don't know. So pretty much how it happened was, I don't want the roster to completely die. As soon as I got relegated, I kind of, like, went up to aKis. I said, yo, so are you down to, like, rebuild the roster still? He's like, yeah, I'm down, as long as we get a good lineup. And then I went over and talked to Itchy, since he can call really well, and I like this calling. I was like, we should rebuild the roster, and he was down for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess the fourth would be like sancz. So he's coming back too. Like he was playing with Ghost for a while. Mm-hmm. And I don't really know. I'm not gonna lie. I really don't know exactly what happened with the whole ghosting and sancz. Mm-hmm. But pretty much he's not gonna be playing with them. And I don't know. We had a really good thing going with Muffin Lightning, right? Mm-hmm. So like we're like, let's just see what we can do again. I think the biggest thing we've always had in Muffin Lightning was we never had like a really stable fit who we thought like meshed really well with us. We had ARKIMONDAY first for a long time, and he was super undedicated and just had a lot of issues with him calling. And then we had PC, which wasn't as bad, but I don't think he meshed the best with the team either. So I think if we find like a fit who's like really solid, then I honestly believe we can go really like we can get back into Pro League, no problem.
Mm-hmm. Can you drop any hints on the potential fifth, or it's kind of still hush hush?
We genuinely have no idea right now. Like,
okay.
Right. So right now we're at the stage where we barely found out that all four of us are down to play. Like within yesterday, I'd say. Mm-hmm. So we barely found out that we're gonna be the four, and then as far as the fifth goes, we're kind of like just messaging a bunch of talent, like top premier players. We're just hitting up anyone who is either known for being like an up-and-comer or something like that, or we're trying to ask like really like former pros who we think are really good still. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of seeing all our options, and then we're gonna do a bunch of tryouts and kind of go from there, I guess.
Okay, so Rush is dead. Long live Muffin Lightning forever. Muffin Lightning is back. Do you have any idea what the other former Rush players are up to? I know Toy is trying to find his way onto a team. What about, you still have Blade and rooRoooo? Do you, we talked about Blade's kind of like lack of dedication to the game. Do you know what those guys are planning to do, or do they get right off into the sunset?
Blade pretty much just quitting CS. He got his like old part-time job he tweeted the other day, so he kind of has his part-time job again. Mm-hmm. And like he still hops around, he plays PUBG with everyone and stuff like that, like, so he'll be around, but he's definitely done with competitive CS. Mm-hmm. Toy, I'm pretty sure he has a team, and it'll be announced soon already.
Okay,
so he has that going for him. And then who else? rooRoooo would have been the perfect fit for us, I think, but like towards the end of the EPL he ended up getting a job, which is decent pay, I guess. Okay. So he's kind of like, and we'd still want him on the team, honestly, but we won't know for like another month what his schedule is gonna be at for work. Mm-hmm. So he has to do training or something. So a month is like way too late. Season starts in a week, so you can't really play with him.
Okay. All right. So Muffin Lightning returns. They got 4 players, looking for the 5th. Stay tuned to figure out who that will be. So we're all done here, Sam. So before we shut this thing down, are there any shout outs you want to give to anyone, or plug anything, plug your stream, plug whatever? Go for it.
I don't really have any shout outs, but yeah, follow me on Twitter, SileNt CSGO, and on Twitch it's SileNt only. And yeah, any potential sponsors, hit me up, man.
Yeah, get this man sponsored. Yeah. Although I would really like to see Muffin Lightning stickers. I really do want them.
I mean, that's honestly the dream. That really is.
That would be great. All right, Sam, thanks so much for spending this Friday night with me.
All right, thank you.